Hello and welcome back to More of a Six. After a bit of time off, we're back to review game week 7 of the Premier League. I'm joined by Kyle and Charlie, and we're just going to jump straight in. So a few of the games we'll just jump over. Obviously, there's no Matt here, so we don't really need to talk about Brighton properly, which is nice, even though they didn't get a great result. But we're going to start off with the first game of the match week, which was, of course, Bournemouth hosting Fulham, where the Cherries came from behind to win by 3-1. An Antoine Semenyo brace was scored either side of an absolutely outrageous long-range Justin Kluivert finish. Let's just talk about Bournemouth because they lost a lot of their kind of key players before the season, but they're sitting pretty in fourth at the minute, I think, and they've just had such a good start to the season. So, Kyle, what have you made of their kind of start?
I mean, a lot of us, I think at the start when we were predicting our tables, we kind of anticipated them to maybe finish around mid-table, like kind of 12th, 13th kind of range. But I think the fact that, they've got a good squad, they've recruited well from losing Huijsen and Zabani, and the fact that they're only playing one game a week as well compared to other teams. For example, Crystal Palace will be playing multiple games a week, which obviously that hasn't really been an issue at the moment, but I think there's really no denying that at some stage, maybe later on in the knockouts, maybe that will come back to bite you, having quite a thin squad. Whereas Bournemouth, they have that luxury of having being able to rest their players. They've got a really nice balanced team. Alex Scott has been performing really well this year. He was plagued with injuries last year, so it's good that they've got him back. And Semenyo is just he completely different beast this season. I think last year everyone knew he was a good player, but he had that period where he maybe dropped off a little bit in kind of consistency, maybe like from a goal output. But this year I think it's what is it, 9? Is it 9 GA in 7? I want to say. I think
He's
in his last
got
7,
the same number of goal. I think he's got the same number of goal contributions this season as Haaland has, which is pretty impressive. But Charles, what is it that you think?
It's 9 in 8 games, by the way.
Okay, yeah, perfect. So he signed a new deal, of course, in the summer. What is it do you think meant that teams didn't really go for him? Because there wasn't much noise around him.
To be fair, I feel like I said this last week, but I feel like this is not the Semenyo that we've had in recent years. Like he has been a good player for Bournemouth, like a high quality winger for Bournemouth, but he's not been this. Like this is whether it's a great run of form or he has just I don't know, maybe he's got a lot better over the summer. He's put in a lot of work in his personal time, but honestly, he has been outrageous. He's almost unplayable. That first goal of his that equalised for Bournemouth the other night was just he has absolutely no right to score. From where he receives the ball there, that just should never be ending in a goal. And he's just so direct. He's powerful. He's a player that you want to watch in the Premier League, isn't he? He's entertaining. And I think the reason maybe that no one went for him is because he wasn't this good then. I feel like next summer they'll have a lot of interest.
They'll be queuing up.
I'll be astounded if they keep hold of him.
It just screams Arsenal to me.
Yeah,
he's an Arsenal fan. I just wouldn't be surprised.
Didn't he have an interview and he didn't want to say he was an Arsenal fan? It's like really it's like he's very subtle about it. He was getting asked like, were there any teams you supported growing up? And he was like, I'm not going to talk about that. I don't want to talk about
that. I do remember that. But yeah, just Bournemouth just doing brilliantly, and I think Kyle make a really good point about no European football actually maybe being a positive for them, and we're maybe going to see the teams that aren't playing in Europe, like potentially Manchester United, be able to kind of not suffer as much in terms of the kind of fatigue of playing, Thursday, Sunday. Right, we're going to just run through a couple of the more boring games, to be honest, the games that just didn't bring up many talking points. We'll start off with Manchester United's 2-0 win over Sunderland. United made it 3 home wins in a row with their goals coming from Mason Mount and Benjamin Sesko. Just not really, just nothing really to write home about from this game. I think that, Len Simmons made his debut and wiped out the Sunderland striker at one point, and there was no penalty given, but I can't really remember many other dramatic kind of talking points. Well taken goals from both Mount and Sesko, so good for them. But to be honest, there wasn't really much to write home about from there. It doesn't really impact Sunderland massively. They've had a really good start to the season. Obviously, as I said earlier, Matt's not here this week, so we don't need to pretend to enjoy talking about his team. Although it is fun when they get a bad result. And to be honest, one all away to Wolves this season is not a very good result at all. It was a pretty just boring game. Wolves led for quite a large amount of it after Marshall Monetzi forced an own goal off the back of Bart Verbruggen, and then Jean-Paul Van Heck equalised in the 86th minute. I apologise, and that's how the game ended. 1-1, just a bit of a bore draw. We're now going to move on to Leeds United versus Tottenham Hotspur. Obviously, Kyle Spurs. They got back to winning ways after their draw in midweek against Bodo Glimt. Mohamed Kudi's strike was enough to win the game after there were goals from Noah Okafor for Leeds and then, of course, Matthias Tell for Spurs. The win sends Tottenham third going into the international break, but Kyle, how good has life been under Frank? I think third, I was kind of surprised to see you that high.
Yeah, so was I, to be honest. First of all, going into this game, we hadn't won a game going into international break in our last 7 games. I think we'd lost every single one going into the international break. So to get this one to finally break that curse, if you want to call it, was nice. I've been really enjoying Thomas Frank at Spurs, to be honest. There's still a bit of kind of uncertainty, maybe with teams that do sit back a little bit more. Sometimes we do look a little bit, not clueless, but a little bit kind of unsure of what to do. Like, I think we might need to work on a few more patterns of attacking play. But obviously that will just come naturally. And that's why I think it is absolutely ridiculous that I'm seeing Frank getting pelters on Twitter, which, I mean, what can you expect from football Twitter? It is just an awful place at times. But so that's why I'm not really too worried. This is like he's had 9-10 competitive games with us now. And to be sitting third as well with the squad we've had, where we didn't sign a left winger in the summer, so we're having to rely on Odebear or Xavi Simons on the left, who I think just naturally suits playing in the 10 a lot more than he does out wide. But
I've got a question
really,
about Odebear.
Yeah,
Odebear, so average. No, I watched the game against Wolves, and when he came on, he just looks like he doesn't want the ball.
I don't know what it is, because he looks scared on the ball, but like we have seen glimpses of him where it's like when he actually does drive at players, his ball retention is really good. I think when he was at Burnley, he had one of the highest successful dribble rates for like under 19 players. I think the only players that had higher than him was Lamine Yamal and Estevao when he was at back in Brazil. So he is good at beating his man. I just think I don't know what it is with him.
That's why it's such a weird profile player. That's why I asked. Because that he has that ability. You've seen it loads of times at Burnley, loads of times, but it genuinely looks like when he gets the ball, he looks scared. Like he looks like he doesn't want to have it.
Yeah,
he just wants to give away as quick as possible.
Absolutely. Like I said, I don't know if that's maybe a confidence thing, because I mean, I don't know if you guys naturally being on like Crystal Palace side of football Twitter would have seen much of it. But for example, his international teammate Matthias Tell has been absolutely hammered this season online. Absolutely hammered. Racist abuse, the lot, and it's like players would be aware of that. Young players will be aware of that online. Maybe it's a psychological thing. You never know. But I thought against Leeds he was good. There was some really good patterns with him and Udogie down that left side, causing some trouble. But yeah, overall, I think normally we would lose that type of game, Leeds away. I don't know. That I was worried going into that game, but no, it was a good win in the.
What did you think of Leeds?
But I think they're good. Like they actually are like really decent, and to be honest, Vicario, although the goal they scored was probably he could have done better, he then did also make 3 or 4 really big saves in the game. And I think that's what's so frustrating about him is that he lets in goals where like you look at it back and you're like, you really should have done better. And then he makes saves where it's like he had no right making it to that. And that's what's so frustrating with him. But they looked really good. I think Okafor as well is having a really kind of under the radar season. He looks really good.
Yeah, no, for sure. Let's move on to Newcastle 2, Forest 0. So Forest continued their awful start under Ange Postecoglou as they failed to score at St James's Park. Bruno Guimaraes' scorcher was later followed by one of the best penalties you'll see from Nick Faltamada, who settled into life really well on Tyneside. And as I said, Forest have won just one game this season, and they haven't won since Ange was appointed, which is now 7 games long. I think there's 3 draws in there, along with 4 losses, or it might be 5 losses. Anyway, my question on the back of that game is, we'll go to Charlie first. Do you think Forest are in trouble?
I do. I really do.
Try and say it without smiling.
Well, I mean, yeah, no, I think they could be in trouble. I feel really bad for the fans and the owner. No, honestly, what were we saying a couple of weeks ago? We were talking about the overall strength of the league this season and how these 3 promoted teams, like even Burnley, have kind of been putting up a bit of a fight in these games. And Leeds, you said yourself, look strong. Everyone knows how good Sunderland have been. It's like kind of opened up the the conversation there of who could go down. And West Ham, I don't think will now. I think bringing Nuno is such a safe appointment. I can't see them going down with Nuno.
Yeah,
but
I agree.
Forest are definitely there. And that he'll give Ange a bit more time. And I think he'll give Ange time and it won't go well. And eventually Ange will get the sack. And then I think they might be in a position where it might be beyond repair. I don't know.
Yeah, no. Well, I just think sacking Nuno was such a mindless decision. I've spoken to a few Forest fans that I've met whilst I was at uni and have been mates with and stuff like that. And I just said, like, what are you all thinking right now? And then obviously not happy. We saw them in midweek against Midtjylland, singing getting sacked in the morning, all of this, booing him. And I think it just was, the fallout was so public between Marinakis and Nuno, even way back when he went onto the pitch and berated him when he allegedly didn't own the club because he put his shares in Blind Trust. And he just get that little jab in. But he no, it was more like the wording when he appointed Ange was more along the lines of, this is like, it was like a kind of like a political move for what it could do for Greece as a country. It was just really strange. And
to be honest, I think that was an impossible appointment. Impossible appointment for Ange. There was look, an owner like Marinakis, he's never gonna if you haven't won like Ange hasn't, he's only gonna give you, like, if you go 8 games, let's say, that win. How many is it now? 7?
It's 7 games, yeah.
It's the first Forest manager in 100 years to lose his opening 7 games.
But then the thing with that is that I was thinking,
to not win,
is that
to not win, yeah.
Is that a lot of these games haven't been easy, and I know that.
No.
But then I was thinking this, but I was also thinking that I feel like when you're in a rut, especially as a Premier League club, you start to look at every game and think that's hard. But then when you're doing well, you look at the games completely differently. So, for example, with Palace, we were looking at games like, when we're playing Liverpool and then Everton, and you're thinking, oh, we could actually get something here. And Bournemouth after the international break. But when you're doing badly, you're like, oh, Jesus, we've got Everton away, and then it's Bournemouth. Bournemouth are good. It's just it's all about perspective. But as a neutral, I do think that their games haven't been easy. Like Sunderland, not easy. Midtjylland are a great side. They've got some really good players. I think maybe a bit overlooked by a lot of kind of English fans who kind of, maybe turn their noses up at them a little bit and were a bit more shocked than they should have been at the result. But Newcastle are a great team as well, and I just think that when you're in a place that Forest are in, and injuries they're getting as well. Murillo went off injured against Midtjylland in midweek, and he looks like he could be sidelined for quite a while. It's kind of just all falling apart for them, really. And we joke about like all the kind of beef between Palace and Forest over the summer, but it is quite crazy to see just how quickly things can go to utter shite. And to be honest, it's all off the back of a really bad decision. So, have either of you got anything else to add on that?
What I was saying about it's just a thankless task for Postecoglou. There was never a world where this went well because it was always going to take time. Postecoglou's style football is it's not something that a team adopts overnight and buys into, and they're all well drilled.
Well, he's not even had proper training sessions, has he, until this break?
No, exactly, and for that reason, that combined with an owner who is notoriously impatient and also just makes stupid decisions. I had 100% certainty when they hired Postecoglou that he would be sacked this season. 100% certainty. I was so sure of it.
Is there kind of an argument to make, like, just playing devil's advocate here, with Marinakis, like his ego just being through the absolute roof, like both of you know? Do you think there's a case of maybe he'll give Postecoglou that extra bit of time to try and rectify it?
I think he is. I genuinely think he is, by the way. I think if it wasn't for the fact that...
he would have been sacked already. If that's what you're going to say, I completely agree. I completely agree.
If Nuno was doing like these results and like he hadn't even thought about bringing Ange in, this is just, completely unrelated, just one manager, he would have been sacked ages ago.
Mate, if 100%. You look at Nuno's games this season that led up to his dismissal, the results were so much better than they've been right now under Postecoglou.
Yeah, 100%. But also, I think, and genuinely, I think this is obviously just my opinion, and we'll probably chuck this on TikTok. So any Forest fans, feel free to kind of chuck your 2 pence in, because your opinion is ultimately much more valid than any of ours because you watch your club week in, week out. But from an outside perspective, I think my issue with Marinakis is that he manages and he runs Forest like a fan would. And not like, do you see what I mean? Because, you think about it, the fans were really disappointed about not getting Champions League football. That was the goal. It was very much an attainable target. They almost did it, and then they kind of fell off. And whilst, instead of actually thinking, well, you know what, wow, what a job Nuno's done. He's got us, European football of some ilk, and it's brilliant, and it's a massive achievement for the club. It was almost like Marinakis instantly was like, well, it's not bloody Champions League. I wanted Champions League. I'm not bothered about the Conference League. It was all Champions League for me. And I just feel like it was a very emotional. It sounded like a very emotional relationship. And
do you reckon I'm crazy for saying that? I was just building on that. Do you reckon I'm crazy for saying that I don't actually think there's another team in the league? Like, actually, I think any other team in the league that were like of Forest, when I say stature, I mean like the mid-table clubs, like the Fulhams, the Palaces, the Bournemouths, the Brightons. Is there another club in the league where if the manager got them into the Europa League and they had that good of a season, FA Cup semi-final, etc., sure, I think any other manager would like almost be untouchable for at least like 3-4 months.
I think they'd be offered a new contract, to be honest.
Right.
Yeah, I think you're completely spot on.
You've hit the nail on the head, by the way. That's the first time I've heard anyone put it like that about the he is 100% running the club like a fan would. It's so reactionary. Everything's so reactionary and emotional. Yeah, I think that's spot on. I hadn't thought of that.
To be honest, sorry, go on, Carl.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, like, obviously, to some extent, you do want your chairman to be a fan of the club or like have some emotion behind it. Otherwise, they do just run it like a business. But yeah, no,
but it's a fine line to tread, though. It's a fine line to tread. I think. For example, if I'm going to make a comparison and make it about Palace, which I'm going to, look at ultimately the decision that Steve Parish made about Mark Gay, because if you were running that as a business only, you would have sold him. But if you were thinking about it from a fan's perspective, you wouldn't have. So I think that was kind of a good decision. But
it's a fine line, isn't it?
But when, for example, when Glasner had that awful run at the start of last season, if Parish was reactionary, Glasner would have been gone, and we never would have seen what we've seen. And so that's why I think it's a really fine line to tread. And I just think sacking the manager that's, as Charlie said, I think it's, definitely also overlooked getting you to an FA Cup semi-final and also qualifying you for European football for the first time in a long time. I think sometimes it's a case of be careful what you wish for, and it could come to bite Forest in the arse.
They
Whilst we're
always
on the
win, though, eh?
game, obviously Newcastle, quietly having a really good start to the season, right? I think they've been
Yeah.
pretty good. And I wanted to bring this up because I saw this earlier today. I don't know when this was. It was Carragher spoke about it on Sky. It might have been this weekend. It might have been a weekend before. I'm not sure, but I only saw the video this morning. Have you guys heard about the quote from Karl-Heinz Rummenigge?
Yes,
The
about Walter
Bayern Munich player? About Walter
Yes, yeah.
saying that the quote I've got here is one moment. I can only congratulate those in Stuttgart for finding an idiot who paid that much money, because we certainly wouldn't have done that in Munich. He's nowhere near worth that.
Well, I think
And
Anthony
I think
Gordon put
that
it well,
Nick
didn't he, the other
Walmard
day?
is
Well, did you hear?
making me
Did
eat
you
his
hear
words,
Anthony
isn't he?
Anthony Gordon's comments on it the other day? And he just said, "I
What did he
don't
say?
know." And basically, who is that guy? Why is he chatting on a player that doesn't play for his club?
He's won a Ballon d'Or, in all fairness. He was a good footballer.
He said as well, like I could understand it if he maybe had like a poor start to the season for those comments to be really made. But he's having a good start. He's having a really good start.
That comes across as so salty, as like we didn't get him. Yeah. I didn't want him anyway. Shit, anyway.
Not that they bloody need him, because Harry Kane just keeps bloody scoring, as Kyle knows. Anyway, we're going to move on because I'll be honest, my phone's on like 22%, so we need to get through. We're going to fly through some chat quickly. I'm going to go through a couple quick games, and then we're going to jump back and talk about kind of big games at the top of the league. Okay, so we'll go to Villa Park, where Unai Emery's Aston Villa side avoided a potential banana skin as they held on to make it 4 wins in a row, including their European fixtures, of course, after Donyell Marlon scored a brace. Leslie Gachukwu pulled one back for Burnley, but it wasn't enough for the Clarets to earn points. Burnley have just 4 points from their opening 7 games, the same number as West Ham and just 2 more than Wolverhampton Wanderers. At the G-Tech, Erling Haaland scored the only goal of the game, and I know Kyle wants to tell us about that, so we'll give him a minute to do that. It's his 9th of the season in the Premier League, as City went on to win the game 1-0. Whilst Brentford were okay and created chances, it was kind of just a pretty routine win for City. Kyle, do you want to quickly tell us about that Haaland goal?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to add, basically, I'm fed up of people pretending like Haaland is a bad footballer and only a good goal scorer. He is an incredible footballer. I don't care what anyone says. The way that he trapped that ball, the defender didn't even get a touch on it. He didn't even touch the ball once. Like, he has shielded the ball from 2 defenders within the penalty area. It wasn't a case of where he just needed to take 1 touch and then shoot as well. He had to do quite a bit of work with it as well, and they got nowhere near him. I'm just sick of people going, "No, he's only a good goal scorer, but he's not a good footballer." Like,
I think that's just
IQ is
it's
off
an
the
outdated
charts, by the way.
It's an outdated
Absolutely.
opinion.
Off the charts, his movement.
I think there was
how he uses his body.
Yeah, it's incredible. But there was a time
every time.
There was a time, especially when he was at Dortmund, when he was like just a good goal scorer. Obviously, there were still good parts to his game, but I do think, especially this season, like his defensive work this season has been brilliant. He knows that he's probably the quickest player on their team. So if the opposition are trying to counterattack and he doesn't think that his defenders are going to make it back, he is putting in the yards to sprint all the way back and try and get in and put his body in. I just think he's been magnificent. And I mean, I completely agree. I think he's very disrespected. I can't believe how low he finished in the Ballon d'Or rankings.
It's not, obviously it's not a shame because it's his country, right? And it's where he's from, like it's his heritage. But he was born, was it in Manchester?
Yeah.
Imagine
in Leeds, I think.
If Erling Haaland was playing, imagine if Erling Haaland was playing for England. Oh my God.
But I mean, just ahead of Harry Kane.
I swear.
Yeah. He
grew up in Leeds.
It was kind of a no-brainer though for him, wasn't it? Really, and that's fair enough. Like, he is Norwegian, isn't he? Like,
no, of course.
It's just, mate, imagine we would win everything if Erling Haaland
Kane behind Haaland. Oh my God.
Kane in the 10, by the way.
Feed.
Carl,
Yeah,
thoughts?
he is now
Kane in the
playing
10,
a
what do you
10 now,
think?
isn't he?
What did you think?
I mean, it's kind of
It's
about
Nico
time.
Jackson as well.
Oh,
At the weekend,
have you guys?
they've pushed him back into the 10 now officially.
Did you guys see his goal versus Frankfurt? There's that one angle from behind. Oh my god!
By the way, I actually have a question. Right? Is he the best ball striker in Premier League history?
Yes.
But
It's him or
I'm
Rooney,
actually going to
isn't it?
pause you.
It's him
I'm
or
going
Rooney.
to pause you because I am a little tease for the Friday episode. We are going to do our hottest takes, and we're going to have some interesting debates about players like Harry Kane, because I do think that is a conversation that needs to be had. Anyway, we're going to move on now to the kind of, not the title race, but I guess Liverpool and Arsenal's games. Obviously, you can't say that Arsenal capitalised on...
And Palace?
Because I think... and Palace, of course. We'll touch on Palace as well. That'll be what we finish on.
It's because you said title race. Because you said title race, I thought, no, don't worry. You didn't get it.
Oh wait, is he frozen? He's frozen.
He looks so confused.
What game did he say that we should speak
Liverpool.
about? Liverpool versus Chelsea.
Did you see the game, Carl? What did you think?
I did, and I think that Salah might be past it, if I'm honest. I think he's kind of... I think, again, I know that Henry said it earlier about the whole not wanting to make it about Palace, but I'm going to make it about Spurs. That season where Son scored he got the golden boot, and then literally the season after just fell off a cliff. I think that's the same as what's happening with Salah. Every time I watch him play, he doesn't look great. He really doesn't look great. And I think even for the large majority of last season as well, he would play bad for the majority of the game, but all it took was one chance and he would capitalise on it. He would get a goal or an assist or whatever. Whereas this season, he's not getting too many goals or assists either. And I just think this new contract they've offered him, I think, not a mistake, but I think it will make it a bit harder for them to get a fee for him, especially if he does continue to decline like he's maybe showing that he is.
Money,
Do you not?
mate.
Yeah, there's always...
Do you want to rotate?
Oh, it's done that thing where I've left and rejoined, and now I have to hold it for the rest of the recording. So that's great.
There you go.
No, I just think Charlie's right. There's the Saudi banking, but to be honest, my issue with Liverpool is that I don't actually, and I made a TikTok about this. I don't know how they play. I think they really do just rely on big moments from their big players, and when those big moments don't come, then they have nothing. You know, you don't watch them and think they have like a set way of playing. They don't kind of dominate the ball like Arsenal do, and or try and play on the counter attack like Palace do. And to be honest, Chelsea were really good value for their win. I thought they were the better team for the majority of the game. 2 cracking goals as well. Lovely to see, like, nice last-minute winner. Yeah,
mate. The crowd. Did you hear the crowd for Caicedo's? The whole crowd going shoot,
and then bang,
and then he shoots, and the net ripple, and the whole the audio for that was class.
We'll touch on him in that episode later in the week, because I think he's probably in with a shout of being one of the best in his position at the minute. I mean, he's just been absolutely phenomenal. And he's kind of added that ability that we see with a midfielder every now and then, when they just can constantly hit the top corners from outside the box.
Michael Essien vibes.
Very much so. Very much so. I was actually got back from a night out the other night, was watching Premier League, like, greatest goals of all time, and the number of times Essien pops up with a banger, it's like, well, okay, yeah, player. And I know exactly what you mean. So Arsenal obviously played before Liverpool, but they didn't capitalise on Liverpool losing. But last season, it did seem to be a thing that when their other title rivals would drop points, Arsenal weren't able to capitalise. But Arsenal just seemed to be ticking over really comfortably. And obviously, it was a 2-0 win. I don't know if we mentioned that when I disappeared. But a 2-0 win over West Ham, Saka and Rice scoring. It just an easy win, very much routine. Char, What are you
Kyle,
thinking about Arsenal?
Kyle, I've got bad news for you, mate. I have bad news for you, Kyle, because
It's happening.
Arsenal gonna win the Premier League. Unfortunately, they're gonna win the Prem. I just don't think anyone else is nearly good enough. And to be honest, I don't think this Arsenal team is good enough. I don't think.
I
think
don't
the
think normally it would.
standard. I don't exactly. That's what I'm saying. I don't think the standard this season of the league winners will be up to the scratch of any of the past however many years. I think that there's just like Liverpool just don't have. Liverpool, it's crazy to say, isn't it? Because they won 5 and then lost 2. But we're all like, oh, Liverpool aren't. Oh, they don't have enough. But like they just don't. They scraped through a lot of those games in the first 5, and I think all it took was a little confidence hit. And they're going to start dropping points. And Arsenal just seem almost inevitable.
But even then with Liverpool, like
done.
even with Liverpool, when they're at full fitness, like Konate is their starting centre back. He is no good. Genuinely, he's awful. I mean, against Palace, he was awful.
He's not good. He's not good at all.
Against Galatasaray, he got bullied.
His head's clocked out.
Yeah, I agree. I think
he's
head's set at Madrid. And he is the weak
His head's clocked out.
I think it's because he's not a bad player. We all know he's a decent player, but he is not playing well.
No.
I agree with you, Charles. I think it's Arsenal's league to lose at the minute. And then that's where we will move on to finally. Palace obviously we'd set a new unbeaten record for the club when we beat Dynamo Kiev in midweek, but a trip to Merseyside where the previous record was also broken at the hands of Everton with the exact same scoreline after being 1-0 up. It kind of just seemed that fate played its hand. Palace have an atrocious record against Everton, let alone away from home. In the last 11 meetings between the two clubs in the Premier League, Palace have won just one of them. No, that's in all competitions, sorry, just one of them. That was in the FA Cup 4-0 in the quarterfinals. Other than that, it's 7 wins for Everton and the rest have been draws. Like, it was always going to be a tough game. But again, we should have been 3 goals up at half time.
I've not been... mate, you can ask Dad, Henry. You can ask our father. I have not crashed out like that. When we gave away the penalty, I was annoyed at Max Ensler because I think it's a stupid decision to slide.
He knew straight away as well, didn't he?
You put yourself in a stupid position, and I was incredibly angry after that because I knew that when they got that penalty that we'd lose that game. I had absolutely no doubt in my mind.
You could just tell.
And to be honest, I was saying to everyone I knew all week that we would lose that game. Here's a fun fact for you as well. Crystal Palace have lost 5 games in all competitions this season. 3 of them have been against Everton.
Was that
this calendar year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually a joke at this point. We are so bad against them. And it felt like
2-1. All 2-1.
It really felt like we were going to... I mean, to be honest, I don't think it's like panic stations because... And I got a bit of stick for this, which I can't believe. We were by far the better team for 70 minutes of that game until the penalty.
We battered them, mate.
They had one chance that Henderson had to save. And then even then, they get a penalty, which, 100% a Stonewall penalty is a misjudgment from Lacroix, and it's a really rare error from him, to be honest. He's been brilliant. And then the winning goal is such a ridiculously fortunate bounce. Beto has a good effort. It's saved so well by Henderson. And then it's bounced off a couple of players' shins and just somehow falls into Jack Grealish's stride, who hits it in off the ground and then off a player and into the roof of the net. He didn't
hit it.
Did he not?
Munoz cleared it.
And
Munoz cleared it. It hit Grealish and went in.
Yeah, this is what I mean. It's just
it was a clearance that hit Grealish and went in.
It was such a fortunate winner, but the thing for me was that this run was always going to end at some point. And in my opinion, there's worse clubs to lose it to than Everton. The Forest, Liverpool, for example, Brighton, of course. And I kind of think it's just going to take the attention off us completely, which is kind of what we need. This run had gone completely unspoken about really by the mainstream media until last weekend, really, when we beat Liverpool. And we made it what it would have been. That made it 18 games. And that's the only time that it kind of got spoken about. And I'm not going to say that, impacted how we played, but I think it definitely puts extra pressure on, right? So for me, we don't play Everton in, I think, for at least a minimum of 34 more games. So I think we'll just go unbeaten for all of those and then lose to them again. So,
by the way, surely we have to mention, why is the entirety of the internet so happy to see us lose? Why is everyone obsessed with us losing? I just don't understand it.
I made a TikTok about this, and then
it was that bio thing.
I didn't post. Yeah, and I didn't post it because I just thought I just don't think enough people.
Why did that happen? I
just don't think enough people are going to care about it. But I'm happy you brought it up because I have never seen such a massive pile on for a club coming to the end of a 19-game unbeaten. Because if you look at it differently, actually all it is Palace have lost 1 in the last 20 games. Like, if you want to try and gloss the stat back up a bit and make it look better, it's 1 loss in 20 games.
We had Liverpool fans celebrating Everton getting a last-minute winner at home.
What are you doing?
Our motion is unmatched, mate. It's unmatched.
You're celebrating your rivals winning a game. But what?
Would never catch me celebrating a Brighton win.
What is the hatred for? But all we did was beat them. You know, we beat them fair and square. It's not like we.
I think Kyle said. I think it was the bio thing. And I do think it's a bit like this. You know what we mentioned in the last 2 weeks, the Spence thing, and how you open yourself up.
No, of course.
Criticism and biting you in the arse. And I think that is just tempting fate, isn't it? Doing that.
No, for sure. But to be fair, they've been doing it for the last. They've been doing it for the last few games, and the only thing I would say is that Everton, 100%, well within their rights to mock it, and I know that their account were the first ones to tweet it. But I do not need to see fucking Liverpool fans literally going mental because their rivals have won a game. Dominoes, everybody. I have Brighton fans in my mentions, for fuck's sake.
Dominoes UK.
They've just drawn away at bottom of the league Wolverhampton Wanderers, and we've just ended a 19-game unbeaten run, which included playing Liverpool 3 times, winning the FA Cup, the Community Shield, winning twice in Europe. I just don't want to hear it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So fuck you all. I'm that, mate.
There you go.
He goes.
Anyway, it's fine because, as we all know, even title winners lose games every now and then. And Leicester, when they won the league, at this point were, I think, 6 points worse off than we are. So you never bloody know. Anyway, I think that will do for today's episode of More of 6. Thank you very much for listening. Obviously, drop the boys a follow on the old Twitter. You can see their ats there. We will be back with you later this week for a bit more of a fun episode. We're going to try and get into the routine of stuff again. We'll do the Premier League review coming out with you on probably the Monday/Tuesday, and then we're going to have a more fun episode building into the weekend. So obviously remember to like, subscribe, follow on all social medias, and rate the podcast 5 stars. But until later this week, we will see you later. Thank you very much. I can't end the recording again, by the way. So it's a little jobby. So we're still here. I don't know if it's just a job of...
No, you got to edit that out.
I think it's a job of just leaving.
So, Henry,
hello.
You've said about editing. So you would edit, and then once you've edited, does it stay on Riverside?
It saves on the cloud, yeah. It's like a cloud storage, yeah.
Okay, because then...
So I'll save this,
if you
I'll edit it
then
and
I
rename
can try
it.
and export it.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll rename it so you know which files to export. But then even then you can can click on the project.
Okay.
So if you click on it, will say MOAVI episode 11, game week 7 Premier League review or whatever. You click on that and then you can see all the magic clips for the TikTok and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. If we all leave,
cool.
and then just stay on the app, so let it finish up uploading your stuff. My phone's on 4%, so I need to go. But yeah, if we all jump out, is anyone?
Right,
are you going to bed, Kyle? Did you say?
Yes. Why? What? Oh, you're going to ask about FIFA, aren't you?
I was going to say maybe just for a little bit.
Oh, Mr. Detective over here.
What is this guy's problem?
Right, it's fine.
Oh, I've devised that you're going to ask about FIFA, aren't you?
By the way, chat,
see you later.
Is short for calculator.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.